Welcome back to Disc Golf Daily, everyone. I am here with Overthrow Disc Golf. So, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good. This is great. Hey, thanks for having us on the podcast.
Of course.
Ben. We appreciate it. This is definitely not the second time we've started the intro to this podcast. For those people who are like, why are they laughing immediately? We're happy to be here. And honestly, it's just nice to see your face, Ben.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here. I don't know why Josh is here, but
I appreciate that. Yeah, Josh, why is Josh here? So tell us more about yourselves, what you do exactly, and all that.
See, I did answer the question.
You got it.
We do disc golf instructional videos, mostly on technique, but anything coaching related, we will do on YouTube at Overthrow Disc Golf.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself.
So just tell us about how you kind of got into disc golf, and just both of you give me the story of kind of your disc golf journey and how you got to where you are at now as coaches.
So I'm not a disc golf coach. Josh is, but I get coached by Josh. We were both tennis pros or coaching pros at a country club. And I'll just say, I guess from my perspective, I started playing disc golf for fun after being a camp counselor at a camp. And I hated disc golf at the time. It was one of the classes we taught as a camp. And I would always, anytime anyone came to disc golf class, I would say, all right, guys, welcome to disc golf class. We're playing ultimate. And all the kids were like, yeah, because no one liked disc golf at this camp. Until this one kid showed up with a big bag of discs. And I'm like, this guy's going to mess up my disc golf class, bro. Completely mess it up. And so I see him and I'm like, this is going to be an issue because this is not actually disc golf. We're going to play ultimate. And so I do my normal spiel with him and he's like, no, I'm still going to play disc golf. And I'm like, all right, you play disc golf while the rest of us play ultimate. And then I saw him throw a disc. And then after that, I was like, well, I still hate this sport, but can you at least show me how to throw, however far this was? It was the furthest flying thing I'd ever seen in my life. So that's how I got hooked on disc golf. But yeah, definitely never thought about doing any sort of channel or anything. So I'll let Josh give his backstory and how we actually ended up doing disc golf content.
Well, you missed the part where that kid grew up to be Anthony Barella. So,
bro, yeah, I honestly don't know what happened to that guy. Anyways, he was 18. So
okay.
This camp was for like late high school, early high school, late high school. So he was pretty decent already. He was not like pro level, but it didn't matter. He could throw far. So
yeah, I got into disc golf. I spent a summer with a musician by the name of Matt Papa, and he and his band would go do different events. And it was their tradition that every new place they went to, they would play disc golf. So naturally, as kind of the intern, I would join them and play disc golf. I got hooked very quickly. And then when I got done with that summer, with that trip, I just started playing a bunch. I played in college. And then I kind of stopped doing tennis, started playing disc golf. And then eventually Mikey and I got hooked up for a teaching position to teach some tennis camps at the country club he was working at the time. And so then I started teaching tennis. I stopped playing disc golf. And then eventually he left to go direct at a different country club. And he was playing disc golf with his brothers. And so we went from hanging out every day at work to not hanging out. So I was like, hey, I play disc golf. So then we started hanging out playing disc golf. And just very naturally, it was with my background in disc golf, I was playing. I knew a bit about the sport, and Mikey would do something, and he'd say, "How do I do this? Like,
Right.
what do I got to do here?" And I just kept. It was kind of the cycle of, well, in tennis, it's kind of like the same thing that we do in tennis, and then something else would come up. What do I do here? Well, in tennis, we have this. It's kind of like the same thing in disc golf. And then, what am I doing here? Well, it's kind of just like in tennis when we do this. So I was able to take the coaching eye that I developed some in tennis, and I started seeing things in disc golf. This is a very truncated version of the story, but I had a channel when I was at the tail end of my collegiate career with Hunter Thomas from Foundation, where we had a video, and I'm not going to name the channel because it's very cringy for me to look back on.
I could name it, but I'm not.
So, where we specifically said, I specifically said, I won't put that on Hunter. I specifically said, this is not a channel for technique. And now I've got a channel that is mostly known for technique. So, and then there was some other interesting points of where he ran into Paul at a Chipotle and said, "I love you, Paul. I want to."
Yeah, just basically that.
I want to film.
I love you, Paul.
I want to film and edit. I'd love to film and edit something for you.
Yeah.
And Paul was like, "Sure." Like, come film a vlog, because they were doing Goliath. And so I'll let him tell that part of the story if you want it.
Yeah. I got it.
Go ahead. This is great.
Yeah, this is crazy. So basically, I had no intentions of doing anything long-term, like video-wise with Josh. I had intentions of showing Paul that I could do disc golf content. Because my goal at the time was to be his videographer. I was like, how sick would that be? Paul's videographer. Because I was doing freelance videography and stuff at the time, and I was like, I could probably get into disc golf content. It could look pretty good. And at that time, I didn't have any disc golf content. So Josh said, well, hey, I've got some ideas, form video, or I think our first video was more like decision making. But you had a video idea. I remember the very first time we filmed a video that I don't even know where that is. It didn't end up making on the channel. But it's because I sent it to Paul and Hannah and I got feedback on it. And so then we went and reshot it with the feedback, I think that's how it went. Anyways, all that to say, the Paul thing did not work out at the time. Turns out like a year after that, I ended up getting the opportunity doing some videography for Paul. Was that like 2 years ago? I can't even remember. That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, like 2.5 basically.
Yeah, but the demo content we ended up putting up on Overthrow. We came up with like the channel name Overthrow Disc Golf. It was really Josh that came up with it, and it's a funny story. that's
we also won't go into that.
Yeah, exactly. But and so that's how it started. Was okay. Basically, after a couple of videos we put up on the channel, it started doing well enough where it really sparked my interest. I was like, wait a second, this is naturally gaining traction, which was something that I was not used to for any, like, I'm sure we all had like random YouTube channels that never did well. I think Josh had one. I've had a few. Ben, I don't know if you're the same way where you had like a random channel that didn't do well, but that's kind of what I expect. Is that the case for you? Did you have a channel?
Yeah, I have a bunch of channels, different channels that, haven't done other than in disc golf.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, I was thinking during that time, I knew that I was hoping that Paul would kind of drag his feet enough for long enough that the videos that I knew that we could put out better videos in disc golf in a lot of ways to what was out there, because I had seen the instruction that was out there. So I was hoping, okay, hopefully we get enough of these videos in, and like I was like pushing to get these things filmed, and I was scripting and trying to make videos that I thought, okay, they might do well to hook Mikey earlier than hopefully Paul would hook them. That was my secret desire. And then there is no reach back, like the third video or whatever it was
did well enough. Let's put it that way.
Did well enough. And I was like, go, like, if you want to be an employee for Paul, like, I get that. But if you want to own half of this company, that's also there. So
yeah, so we went 50-50 in on Overthrow, and it's the best decision I ever made besides, a couple other ones.
I was like, which one's going to be slow?
Right. I got to be careful with what I say. It's like, man, let's just say it was a really good decision. How about that? And we don't have to go saying it's the best all the time.
Yeah, it's a good decision.
Yeah.
So let's just go off of this partnership. What exactly is each of your roles in Overthrow?
Makes sense for you.
I coach. I come up with most of the content ideas. There's not a bunch of our stuff that's really like Josh only does this, Mikey only does this. But kind of the big things is obviously I'm bleeding into your rules, but I don't edit. I don't do the videography. He does that kind of stuff. I do the coaching, though he has a coaching background, so you'll see videos pop up from time to time. He's more than capable of coaching, so he could bleed into that side more if he wanted to. That's basically all I do is I coach and I
coach
content.
That's all he does. He spends it's so many hours coaching. It's ridiculous. And yeah, as he said, I do. So basically how our roles work is Josh is our product for Overthrow, and I am the marketer. So anything having to do with marketing, at least the actual marketing visuals, the editing, like I work on website for us, I work on designs, anything kind of visual or creative is what I really love doing. I feel like I'm good at, and I just highlight Josh's coaching, and it works really well. There is some, again, like he's saying, there's some crossover. So there are times where Josh and I will work through like, oh, this would be a cool idea. Oh, this is a cool idea. And then try finding kind of the middle of both of our creative visions. So it's good. Yeah, I like some of my favorite videos are the really collaborative, like Josh comes up with the script and then I can kind of visualize the B-roll and piecing all that together because it gives me some creative freedoms in the video side of things. But it works really well. I feel like we've got our lanes and we've got the things that we're really good at. And there's some crossover whenever we're feeling like, hey, I kind of want to do, Josh comes up with a video idea and comes up with a script. And it's like, okay, I like it. Let's do it. And then same thing. It's like, hey, Josh, you did this thing that really helped with my nose angle. And so, I'd love to share that in a very me way where I can just basically show it to them quickly. Because when something clicks with me, it's like I don't have a lot of words for it. It's just tell people about the thing that clicked and maybe it helps someone else. So
yeah, like the grip pressure. You thought bigger grip pressure meant more nose down. Turns out you duped yourself.
Dude, that's funny. Yeah, looking back on that, I've actually got some, I haven't even talked with Josh, but I've got some good ideas on what actually, after doing a ton of tech disc work, some really good ideas on why I was able to throw further with a tighter grip. But basically I may as well say it. I was able to keep the spacing here. When I tighten my muscles, I don't dip my elbow as much. And so I kept a cleaner pocket while tensing up the grip. And so all of my form work now has I've noticed when I tense up my shoulder and I tense up here and I keep it away, and I don't dip my elbow as much. And that's been super, super key. So interesting that you bring that up, because I was thinking about that recently.
That's all I think about. Nose angle.
That's all you think about. That's right. Hey, I know you're a big form work guy. All right. I remember our texts.
Yeah.
All the form.
It's funny. I just recorded my other podcast, Funzy, and we were talking about form for like 30 minutes. And then we were talking about disc golf coaching for 30 minutes. And you guys were mentioned. So it's just kind of funny how like this was not the plan, but like we just randomly talked about form and then coaching. And now I'm interviewing you guys 5 minutes after we had that discussion about coaching, which we will get into some of the topics that we talked about. But just before we get into that, is this your full-time, both of your full-time jobs? And if so, just take us through kind of your day-to-day and the pros and cons, like the things you've liked the most from kind of taking this leap. Sorry. You guys are full time. I'm prefacing the question, but I guess I had to say that first before the pros and cons of like what the benefits of taking this leap to go full time in disc golf, and then the things you kind of miss or that have been kind of a little tougher.
Yeah, so I wanted to go full time after we got back from the Simon trip a couple of years ago. And Simon, by the way, said something to me. He was like, when you guys hit 50,000 subs, then you can go full time. I was like, I would literally die, because I was already directing at a country club, working a cajillion hours doing the work of like 3 people. It was not super fun, although I love coaching, obviously. But I wanted to take that dive however many years ago that was. But yeah, so went full time when the income was enough to fairly comfortably sustain Mikey and my paycheck. And we had so little overhead back then because we were just working out of our houses instead of this office. So yeah, we went full time. Obviously made a bigger push for more lessons to increase the income so we can start doing more things. Obviously we have a store now. We have this whole setup. So that takes money. For me, it was never a question of wanting to go full time or not, because I knew basically that the situation that I was getting into at the country club that I was working at was, I saw it, 6 months before it happened. And I thought, if my boss leaves, I'm going to be director, and then I'm going to be direct to the owner. And I have no desire to be in that much interaction with that person. And so that's actually part of why I thought Overthrow was a good push at the time, because I kind of saw the writing on the wall and wanted an exit strategy out of my old job. So, yeah, if we were just running a tennis club, it would have been great.
Yeah,
but
fun.
Yeah, so full-time lessons. My days look a little bit different each day, but I've got availability. I teach lessons when people are off work, right? Because I'm coaching a sport, which people do in their spare time. So, for example, I will start coaching today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll finish about 8:30 tonight. Wednesdays, I'll coach all day. I don't know why Wednesdays are popular, but I'll go from 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. often. And then we have our filming days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then that's kind of a catch-all for other work as well. Some logistical things, some planning. Friday nights and Saturdays I coach. And yeah, we're working in more clinics here and there because the summer months slow down a little bit as people are competing. They are doing less lessons because form work will screw up your aim and stuff like that sometimes. So, people tend to just come to me sometimes for form work. I do have students who go through the whole season, and we're able to talk about post-op on tournaments and things like that, which I think is more beneficial, but it's just not as popular in disc golf yet. So that's kind of day to day. We've got our shop. Dakota handles that and mailing things out, and we run a tournament or two every month. So, but that's all on Dakota's plate. Basically, we just discuss things here and there. Let's see. I mean, the downsides for running your own business are nothing compared to the upsides of running your own business. You get to call the shots. It's all kind of on you, which is scary, right? Because if things aren't working, then it's probably your fault. So, but it's not, it was never really going to work out for me, I think, to be working under someone else. I can do it. Like if I had to do it, I could do it, but it's always, I want to be able to have a vision and the resources to put that in place. Whereas at the country club, it was, I've got these ideas, but there's always this like management wall that you're running through. It's like, can we just do cool stuff without all of the politics here? And so now we just don't have to do any of the bell work, just the stuff that doesn't matter. If it's stupid and it doesn't help the business, we just don't do it. Mm-hmm. And if it's fun and it helps the business, we do it. It's very simple. It's a much more enjoyable work environment for me now. Plus, we get to play Halo on that. So
off screen is our
golf simulator / home entertainment system.
It's a lot of things to us. Yeah. I'm pretty much with Josh, almost verbatim. I think the nice thing is with like my skill set, if I ever need to be like, really the biggest issue would be money, right? So if you're the type of person that is like, yeah, I want to have a solid income, and it's like, I can't live without my $50,000 a year. Well, then you're not going to be able to make YouTube work for a long time. But for us, it's like he's crazy good with money. And so he makes it work because he's super frugal. I've got a wife who works full time. We don't have any kids. So the season that we're in allowed me to go full time earlier. And honestly, even if my wife stopped working, I could always do part-time things with the skills that I have as a freelancer creative, basically. So it's not too much of a risk for me to be full-time Overthrow. And I'm very used to generating my own income because that's pretty much all I've ever made is 1099 income. So it's generating my own income is super normal to me. Who's here?
Oh.
Dakota, can you get him to the other door? Yeah. Hey, we're back.
Dude, I was hoping it was like Paul Macbeth himself. Just like came out.
Aaron Berlin.
Yeah, Aaron Berlin, don't you know?
Yeah, Aaron Berlin. Yeah. I know that guy.
Berlin? Aaron?
Yeah, the Berlin Wall, baby. That's what we call him back in the day.
Berlin Wall. That's great.
So yeah. Thanks for going into that. That was really some really good insight. And hopefully anyone listening has got some cool kind of motivation to maybe go for your own goals in business. Because I'm the same way as you, Josh. Kind of just like I knew I never really wanted to work under anyone directly, I guess, like in a corporate setting. Obviously, like own a business, you have to manage relationships, so it's kind of the same thing. But I knew that from the start, so that's why I started a tackle store in the expos and all that. So it's been it's cool. It's kind of like, you know, we relate with that full time in DG. So there's many coaches out there. And for disc golf, and you know, some might be great, some might not be great, some might just be like making it for views, stuff like that. Where I'm going with this is how do you try and separate yourself from these other coaching channels or coaches, or is it more like a collaborative effort where it's just like, okay, this guy has some good stuff, but also like we'll add on more here? I guess, what are you trying to do differently to that? Basically what I'm saying, why should people choose Overthrow as opposed to, someone else for their coaching?
What are the chances, right?
Right.
It's inside joke at this point, hopefully.
Berlin.
Okay.
So,
He said Berlin. Yeah, you take this one.
yeah, so
I'll have a couple
know.
comments.
Yeah, I don't know that you should pick me as a coach per se. I don't think that I'm the right coach for everyone. The goal is not for me to be the best coach, right? I can't be the best coach for every person, right? Because every person thinks a little bit differently. Every person has ways that they understand things differently. So the way that I naturally explain things is going to resonate with some people more than others. And it's not my job at all. I would hate to try to convince somebody who understands from someone other than myself, well, they don't know what they're talking about. You should listen to me, right? That's not my goal. I have more of kind of an abundance mindset that's packaged and got like a lot of negative connotations to it as well. So don't take that with all those. It's just, I don't think that, I've got to get all the students I can get. I've got to get them all. Like, they all need to come to me, right? There are always going to be more students. There are always going to be people who need help. And if I'm their guy, I'm their guy. I'm going to do the best I can with whoever it is. So it doesn't matter to me if they go to me, if they go to Seabass, or if they go to Blitz, or if they go to Slingshot, or if they go to Robbie or whoever. It doesn't matter that much to me. I want them to go to a coach and be committed to that coach and go be a good student. And the fact of the matter is even some of these coaches that I disagree with fundamentally on technical aspects with, which are not many coaches that we have like big, huge disagreements, but where we disagree fundamentally on aspects, that coach can probably still do good things for that student. So I want to be very careful when I'm going through, especially content pieces where it's this person says this person says this, here's where I'm at. I want it to be very clear that they're not personal attacks. It's this theoretically does not make sense. This is not what's happening. This is the idea. I don't agree with that. If you agree with that idea that this other person's teaching, go to them. Don't waste your time in coming to me, because I'm going to teach you what I see and what I believe. And of course, I would like for everything that I say to be in line with what's actually happening. But of course, I'm going to be wrong at times. So my goal is just to increase my knowledge so that I can accurately communicate in a way that gets the student to do the right thing. So you have to have, coaching is about communicating knowledge in a way that gets the student to improve and do the right things, whatever way that is. And everybody communicates a little differently. So I don't have a pitch of come to me over so-and-so. It's, if you're working through this and you think I can help you and you need help, I'm here. So no hard selling here. I did a sale. I had sales in my background and hated it. I was very depressed for a long time with hard sales techniques, and it's just so annoying. I don't think coaching has a place for that. So you always want what's best for the student. Sometimes that's not you as a coach.
Yeah. So it's funny because so Josh is probably all the way on the, you can get coaching from anyone. I'm definitely a little bit more stingy than, again, I've got a coaching background, and I I definitely, if Josh comes up with something that doesn't make sense to me, I fight really hard against him. We've had some conversations that have lasted hours because he has filmed something or he had this idea and this belief on form, and I've like really pushed back against it. And funny enough, the things that I was like super critical of ended up being it was just down the road. I was able to figure out that it was the best thing for what my goal was, which was increasing my speed. And so I'm a bit more critical of coaches, and I think most people are. I like where Josh comes from. It's nice. We actually came from, like, at our country club in tennis, there were 3 of us coaching. So as a head pro, then we were the assistant pros. And I liked what we had going, which was, hey, you just kind of find out who is not the right person for you to coach. And you just know, like, okay, as much as I'd love to be everyone's coach because I'd be rich or whatever, it's like you just end up finding out that you can't be everyone's coach, different personalities, just like Josh was saying. And there's just going to be people who resonate with Josh's intricate, he's got a really good knowledge of what's actually happening, and he communicates all of it. And then I was like, okay, I just like being fun and simple. So that was my coaching style. As fun as possible, right? I want to keep your kid involved in tennis. I want you to love tennis like I love tennis. And I don't know why everything works, but I'll show you something that works. Right. And I was able to coach them that way. And then Peter had his own way of coaching as well. And so I was like, okay, you probably do well with Peter. You want a really good workout? Peter's your guy. And he had some of that mental game. Like, he actually did have a professional tennis background. So he could give some of those higher end players something that, neither Josh or I could give them. Anyways, all that to say, that's something you have to take into account. You can't be everyone's coach. And so that's why we need more coaches in disc golf. We need a lot more. And that's one of our biggest goals, is to equip more coaches and get more people out there coaching who have a good understanding of the game, and hopefully develop their own coaching styles so that everyone's got a coach available. Right. And then other coaches can make a good living in the sport. That's going to be huge.
Yeah. You had mentioned that there are a lot of disc golf coaches, and I've thought that before, but every time I go to list them, there's not that many.
Right.
I know probably all of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, how many coaches there? Oh, well, let me see who's in this camp, who thinks this way, who thinks that way. And then I write it down, and there's like 10 names total. Like, there's just not that many coaches. So,
yep.
But it is nice to be able to do what we did like in the old days, because I used to, you're sitting at the desk in the country club office and you're just, oh, so-and-so, hey, I want to take tennis lessons. It's like, okay, tell me a little bit about your goals. Okay, I want this. Okay, well, how do you, and you get some people, it's like, what do you respond well to? What do you want out of a coach? Within reason. So you're just trying to kind of figure out a little bit, and it's just, they're like, my daughter, she hasn't really played a sport before, so so probably someone fun, right? And it'd be like, well, I'm going to try to get you in with Mikey. Tell me some times you're available. Boom, right? Or, yeah, I'm really lazy. I just need someone like to be on my tail. And my parent was a, military, whoever, just like light me up. It's like, all right, Peter, it is then. And it's, yeah. Or I'm an engineer. Okay, I'm your guy. Here we go. It's just, yeah. So you can always find a good fit, and there were always people calling, right? So
yeah. I think those are really good answers, and that's kind of in the podcast I was recording previous. That's kind of what I was saying as well. It's just like, some things are going to make sense and not make sense to you that another coach might say differently, but it's kind of the same essence in that. And I even said, like, You know, I've watched you guys for a while, but I would watch one of your videos and be like this doesn't make sense. And then 6 months later, oh, this is what he meant by that. So it's really tricky because form is, you can say the right things, but it's really just a feeling thing. And if you're not getting that feeling, it's, you know, it's difficult to kind of like understand what's going on. So I have a question. This kind of came up in earlier in our other podcast. So what do you have to say to people? Because I'm sure there's a conversation you've had a lot of, and I know you've addressed, but to people who say, why should we listen to this coach? Doesn't have to be you guys. If he's doesn't have good form, if he's not highly rated, if he just isn't good at disc golf, why should we listen to a person that isn't 1,000+ rated?
Let me start. So I grew up taking lessons, tennis lessons, and I took lessons from a coach that was extremely, he was a student of the sport, and he really did nothing of notoriety in the tennis realm. But he was always like looking at slow motion form. He's doing stuff that other coaches were not doing. And I loved him, and I progressed like crazy with him. I started late. I think I started competitive tennis at 12 or 13. And in tennis, that's like basically, hey, you know, you're just going to play high school. And so I was able to witness, I even worked underneath him. I was able to witness his dedication. And because of the way that he understood things so well, he was able to communicate well to me. And it was just a really good experience. And some other coaches in the area were trying to steal me away from him because they said, hey, you know, I'm a pro. Some really annoying coaches that were very well established, like well known, and they're like, hey, well, if you want to get to the next level, well, then you come get coaching with me, because, you know, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's never even played on tour. And I had such a negative experience with that. Some people don't have that negative experience. They just buy straight into, oh yeah, he's never been on the pro tour. But by that point, I had already progressed so much that I could tell immediately. I was like, that's dumb. No, he's a great coach. I'm doing really well. And at this point, it's just the amount of effort I put in that I'm going to get out. So I look back on that and think about our situation, and it's a good perspective to have, because people, who cares how good they did on tour? Who cares? Who cares how far they throw, right? If they can't get you to do that, then they are not a good coach. If they can't get you to do it, it doesn't matter what they can do. It's what your coach can get you to do. So I'm super passionate about it. And you know what? The funny thing is Josh keeps it super low key on our channel, but I'm not even gonna go there. But anyways, Josh has progressed like crazy with his own coaching methods. I've progressed like crazy. So if you do go by those standards, which are not good standards, then we've hit those standards too. But it doesn't matter for some people. It's this like, well, who do I listen to? Listen to the person that gets you results. That's proven that they can get people results. Or hey, maybe they've not had any results because they haven't coached anyone, and then they slowly produce results with their students. But even then, maybe it's not the right coach for you, as we said, you know. But if a coach is coaching and they're not producing any results, I'd say there's not many coaches out there that won't produce any results. But you do, as a student, You just have to figure out, hey, is this working? Give it a good go. Give it a good go. Right? For some people, that's 3 months. For some people, that's 6 months. For some people, that's a year. And dedication is gonna do a lot for you. But if you put in the time and you're not progressing, okay, maybe you've got a valid excuse of maybe my coach is not the right coach for me. But go ahead, Josh.
He's passionate.
Yeah, I think the evaluating after 6 months is I don't think if you're a student and you're under a coach right now and it's been 6 months and there are no results and you've been getting it, it's not like, oh, I haven't been practicing, or I practice, I practice once a week. Like, if you're getting it and it's been 6 months and nothing has improved, your form hasn't improved, your distance hasn't improved, your rating hasn't improved, whatever metric you're going after, after 6 months, okay, then have a conversation with your coach would be the best way to do this, and say, hey, I'm really just not improving and I want to know what it is. Because as a student, that's the thing, is you don't know as the student, right? And it's a fair question to ask, how do I know that the person I'm signing up to get lessons from knows what they're talking about, right? In other sports, in tennis, there's this guy's a certified teaching pro, right? Not a certified player, but a certified teaching pro. So we have that in other sports. We don't have that yet in disc golf. So I try to be, which is kind of difficult for me sometimes, but I try to be empathetic to the question being asked, because some people just don't know. It's like, for me, it's a question of, what do you want? Who do you want teaching you? What do you value in a coach? Do you value a player who coaches part-time, or do you value a coach who plays part-time? It's like, if you want me to be a good player, I'm going to be a worse coach. I just can't improve both at the same rate at the same time. So you do have to look, I think, at results, which you have personal stories. I'm sure you could go on Reddit or something and post, hey, does anybody work with Overthrow? Has anybody worked with so-and-so? Are there results? Did it work out? And did they help you improve, right? Those are fair questions, I think, to ask. And probably that's the best venue that people have. I mean, not necessarily Reddit being the best venue, but some sort of feedback loop there. And we've been doing this long enough that we should really create some sort of something for our own channel. Or
yeah, you're saying
like testimonials or something. But it's so easy not to do that, because I don't know, I'm working with people day in, day out, and I'm seeing it personally all the time. So it's not really a question there for me.
I think at the end of the day, the good product, right? The good coaching survives and thrives. That's what happens. And as much as you hate to, it's like, for me, I can really disagree with what Slingshot does, but he's producing some results. I'm telling you right now that if he wasn't producing some results with his students and progressing them, then he would not have the following that he does, right? Again, I disagree with a bunch of stuff that he coaches. I also used to make form changes along the lines of what he's coached, and I did see some progression. So I had to go through basically, hey, I'm going to try both. I'm going to try everything. I'm just going to be a guinea pig, which I love. I love that, because if I think there's, yeah, it's like you. I know you're the same way.
Yes.
It's like, if you try something and you see the results, you're like, oh, I'm going to go down this road. Like, I'm going to try to max this out. So, but that's the thing, it again, comes down to results. Any good business, if the product's bad, no matter how good your marketing is, you're not going to get success. There's just no way. At some point, people are going to find out you're scamming them, right? Because at that point, you've got really good marketing, a bad product, and you're trying to oversell this thing, and it's gonna cave in at some point. So it doesn't last forever. There's no way that a bad product does well over a long period of time.
Yeah. Did we answer the question?
Was that answered?
Bars. Yeah.
Bars.
Yeah, you guys did answer it, and yeah, I had the same sentiment as you. You know, if you can be a player and a coach, but obviously, if I'd rather a coach that's focusing on coaching than getting better at tournaments or trying to play. Obviously there's a ebb and a flow, but like you said, if you're studying coaching every day while someone's practice putting, one's gonna be, the coaching's obviously gonna be the same as like the practice putting. But if you're kind of divvying that time up, then the coaching might not be as escalate as fast as if you just focused on just coaching or practice putting all the time. You end up being a better putter. But yeah, I mean, that was honestly, that was an awesome interview, and I really appreciate you coming up, and I hope anyone listening to this kind of got some valuable knowledge about kind of just coaching and inform and about these guys. They have their own YouTube. So any last shout outs that you guys want to give before I let you go?
Subscribe to Ben Kenny's podcast.
This is Disc Golf Daily, so it's Myriad.
Oh, it's Disc Golf Daily?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it's we got Steve, Brian, Seth Fenley, Brian Wolf, and Steve Dodge, all part of it.
Well, subscribe to Disc Golf Daily Ben Kenny edition. All right.
Yes.
I don't know.
Subscribe to my YouTube, just non-disc golf. There you go.
Don't know who this Seth guy is, but
Yeah, come on. Seth.
Ben, you got to subscribe for Ben, right?
Right, gotta subscribe to Ben.
Yes. And subscribe to Overthrow. Go check out. They have a ton of content if you want to elevate your game, and if you want to get to the point where you're actually serious about this. Hit up Josh. I'm sure you have lessons opened if that's the route you want to go. So hit him up. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This has been Disc Golf Daily.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really does help us grow.